Hello and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Bite-Sized Cybercrime, the podcast where we discuss cybercrimes and cybersecurity news. This week we will be discussing an upcoming feature of Microsoft's Copilot Plus PCs, a feature that leverages generative AI that records everything you've done on your PC, allowing you to search for past activities. It takes screenshots and automatically generates a description of what is going on that can then be searched for by you. This provides some useful features, such as being able to go back through meetings or videos and transcribe speech. Or maybe you just need to visit a certain website again and forgot what it was, or need to remember what the heck you were trying to do on a certain project earlier. Well, you can now use ordinary human speech to go back through everything you've ever done since this feature was turned on and find exactly what you were doing. But naturally, a feature like this provides both privacy and security concerns. This is called recall, and if you think every action being transcribed is a little creepy and a security nightmare, you would be correct. Initially, Microsoft has attempted to reassure customers, saying that all the processing recall does is stored locally, all the screenshots are encrypted on your disk, and only you have access to your screenshots. You can also choose to exclude certain applications or websites from recall if you so desire, and activities in private browsers won't be recorded. Although passwords could be recorded if it's not being used in a private browser and if you can actually see your password being typed in. Aside from the password thing, this all sounds well and good. It's just screenshots of what you're doing. So, what makes this a big deal? Well, as it turns out, the screenshots are not actually as well protected as advertised, and the default settings, which most people would not change, captured a lot of data. If an info stealer malware is installed on a machine, not only can it collect regular data like the current documents you have, passwords, databases, but also data from recall, which is an entire HD view of all the actions a user has allowed recall to capture. This could include entering passwords into a website, accessing websites like bank accounts, medical portals, or sites that store other private data, working on projects that are not meant to be shared with the public, emails, images, messages on websites you believe to be private due to encryption, things going on in a virtual machine that you're accessing via your computer. Someone, in fact, already made a tool known as Total Recall that, when an attacker is able to gain access to a user account, can siphon all of that data. This is a cybersecurity podcast. If you listen to it, you likely care at least a little bit about your own security, so you may be thinking, well, I can just turn this off in settings, so what's the big deal? The big deal is that people just don't know much about security. They just know that they can use a computer for work or for gaming, and don't fully understand the additional risks that might come with recall. Previously, it was turned on by default, so they may not have even noticed it was a new feature that has been added. One particular concern that I have that I've not tested myself yet, so I've not confirmed how this works, is that recall can screenshot activity that is happening in a virtual machine that you're connecting to. A lot of organizations are moving to virtualization to save costs on physical machines and any kind of hardware repair that comes with that. Without giving away too many details, my workplace allows you to use your personal device and install a client to access your workplace machine, which is sitting somewhere in a data center on a server. Anything on the virtual machine can't be moved to your local machine. That's kind of the beauty of it. But if there's a tool out there that automatically takes many screenshots of your exact actions, that is effectively moving the data you're looking at from your virtual machine onto your personal device. If an attacker knows that you work for an organization like mine and use virtual machines, they could find you on LinkedIn, send you a phishing email that installs info stealer malware, grab that data from the recall database, and now suddenly your work information is leaked, even though your work account wasn't compromised. Or they could see you entering your password into your work machine, and then compromise your work account that way. I read a couple of articles from Microsoft, and it does seem like there are no automatic filters for applications set. They all need to be added manually. Recall does say that content from private web browsing sessions will not be saved, as well as content that is protected by DRM or digital rights management, but I couldn't find any mention of virtual machines. If I missed something, let me know. The post I was reading did make a comparison on how Snipping Tool won't capture DRM protected content, but I know that Snipping Tool can definitely capture content on virtual machines from the host machine. I have a couple Linux virtual machines, and I've used Snipping Tool to screenshot some things in those windows and save them to my Windows host machine. And I don't believe popular services like VMware have any protection towards this sort of thing happening from the host. Although in the future, that could change. On June 7th, Microsoft responded to a lot of the backlash from recall. One major change they did was make it opt-in rather than opt-out, which addresses the concern of people unknowingly capturing all of this data. Microsoft also made it so that the data is to remain encrypted until the user authenticates to the Recall app, which will deter but not necessarily prevent information stealing malware from capturing the data. I think this addresses some of the major security concerns, but not necessarily all of them. Someone who's an insider threat at a company that uses virtual machines can still use Recall to effectively bypass any data loss prevention with quite little effort. And although that may seem like a bit of a stretch, it's still one more thing to worry about, especially because simply turning Recall on is a lot easier than manually taking screenshots from your host machine every single time you want to capture a document. Recall hasn't been released yet, and it might not even be released if the backlash is still too strong against it. It is nice to see Microsoft taking these concerns into consideration, but it may be difficult to get Windows users to trust that they will fix these issues completely, or to trust that the data stored in Recall is ever truly going to be completely private. Thank you to Microsoft Support for some elaboration on the different uses of Recall and the fixes that were made after the security concerns were addressed, as well as Wired, The Verge, ARS Technica, and Windows Central for information on Recall and the different concerns surrounding it. Little life update from me. I'm currently in the process of moving. This shouldn't affect my upload schedule. I do have a podcast episode set to air next week when my recording equipment will be packed and moved away. So, yeah, very exciting. Wish me luck on that. Anyways, my name is Chloe Tonis, and until next time, stay secure.